Hello, my name is Avidan Rodriguez, and it is my honor to serve as president of the University at Albany. As part of UAlbany's celebration of Black History Month, I am delighted to welcome you to this virtual launch of a very exciting and impactful exhibit on display in the Great Hall of our campus center. It's called The First Step to Freedom and was developed by the New York State Museum, the State Library, and the State Archives, all of which fall under the auspices of the New York State Education Department. This excellent exhibit includes a draft copy of Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, complete with Lincoln's own handwritten editing notes. But what makes this project uniquely powerful and relevant is the way it connects the civil rights movement and the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I was also very excited to learn that the exhibit has a surprising connection to UAlbany. One of the panels highlights the discovery of a long-lost recording and transcript of a 26-minute speech Martin Luther King gave in New York City in 1962 on the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. It just so happens that these historically significant documents were unearthed in 2013 by Daniel Barker, a UAlbany Master's Student in Information Studies who was an intern at the State Museum. The First Step to Freedom also has a broader connection to UAlbany. It is emblematic of the university's strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are very grateful to the New York State Museum for making it possible for us to display this extraordinary exhibit. I also want to thank our New York State Writers Institute and the Office of Diversity and Inclusion and Campus Center Management for their very hard work in creating this opportunity for our campus community. I strongly encourage our faculty, staff, and students to take advantage of this amazing opportunity and visit The First Step to Freedom, which will be on display until March 15th. Thanks to everyone who contributed to this excellent educational and cultural opportunity for our campus community. Muchísimas gracias and happy Black History Month.
Welcome. I'm here with Mark Shamming, the director of the New York State Museum. I'm Paul Grandal, the director of the Writers Institute. We're in the middle of Black History Month, and obviously this exhibit, The First Step to Freedom, Lincoln, the Emancipation Proclamation, takes it all the way up to including the inauguration and Kamala Harris as the first vice president woman and woman of color.
Yes.
So talk about the historic importance.
There were two Emancipation Proclamations. The Preliminary Emancipation Proclamation was issued on September 22nd, 1862. And the final Emancipation Proclamation was issued 100 days later. So basically, Lincoln issued the preliminary to put everybody on notice, to say in 100 days, you're gonna see the final Emancipation Proclamation. In the first document, Lincoln declared that all slaves within rebel territory would be forever free on January 1st, 1863, unless the Confederate States returned to the Union. He followed through with his promise, and Lincoln, on New Year's Day, 1863, he signed the final Emancipation Proclamation. In this great history, there was wait and watch events outside of the White House and Capitol, waiting, for this to happen. So the document is owned by the New York State Library, and it's a draft of the Preliminary Emancipation Proclamation written in Lincoln's own hand, with sections of the Congressional Confiscation Act, which is pasted into the document. There's also notations in the documents by Secretary of State and former New York State Governor and Senator William Seward, who added the penciled edits when Lincoln read the document to his cabinet on September 22nd, 1862. In 1864, Lincoln donated the Preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, the draft, to the Army Relief Bazaar held here in Albany to raise money for the U.S. Sanitary Commission, which provided medical care for Union soldiers. abolitionist Garrett Smith won the raffle. He bought 1,000 tickets at $1 each, of course, won the raffle, and he eventually sold the document to the state legislature with the funds going to the Sanitary Commission for, I think, $1,000. I think he got his $1,000 back.
Yep.
And with that, the legislature in turn deposited the document in the New York State Library, where it remains today. And remember, the state library was in the Capitol at that time. So the other interesting historic piece with this iconic document is it survived the 1911 Capitol fire. A employee, a guy named Harlan Horner, the state education official, carried it out of the building as it went up in flames. There's such an immediacy to it, and I love it. There's actually a thumbprint on one of the pages. There's a fingerprint of Lincoln's on it, and then you see Seward's pencil notations written in. This is a real draft. The man sat down and rewrote this this incredibly important document before it was made formal. So I love the immediacy of it. You read it, you see it's a working document with the notes and the changes and things. It is a facsimile. It's a very high resolution facsimile of the original that's locked in a secure airtight vault here.
So I guess everyone, even one of our greatest orators and speechwriters, Lincoln, need a good editor. So Seward was the editor, right? So
Yeah.
you're seeing his edit marks, take this word out, add this, right? I mean,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a great painting of Seward in the Hall of Governors over at the Capitol that's in the collection of the New York State Museum. That was painted when he was governor.
What I like, the exhibit really ties it into this other amazing document you discovered not too many years ago of a 1962 recording of Martin Luther King Jr.
A speech was found in our collections by a University of Albany intern who was digitizing tapes. It was in an unmarked box.
Mr. Chairman, my good friend Governor Rockefeller, His Eminence Cardinal Spellman, ladies and gentlemen. I need not pause to say how very delighted I am to be here this evening and to be a part of this auspicious occasion.
We had that. But on September 12th, 1962, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech in New York City to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the issuance of Lincoln's Preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. King was invited and paid to do this by then Governor Rockefeller, and Rockefeller was known to carry the document around in his briefcase around the state to impress people at the time. In the speech, Dr. King reviewed the history of human rights in America.
That is but one way to commemorate the Emancipation Proclamation. And that is to make its declarations of freedom real.
It really is a remarkable piece to listen to.
Yeah, it's amazing. A 26-minute speech, and we'll be able to, we'll have a QR code where students can hold their phone up to it and listen to it while they're doing the exhibit.
I mean, I think, first of all, the history is really important. I mean, we go all the way back to slavery and what happened politically, and you know why America came to this point in the Civil War, and then abolition, and all these movements after. So it's really important to give voice to this document, along with Lincoln's and Seward and Martin Luther King, to give it context. It's terribly important. Just hearing Martin Luther King's voice, who's talking about this very document you're looking at, it brings it to life, and really helps us think about what's going on in America today, and thinking ahead, how that matters in the world. But these things are terribly important, that we have and preserve and understand these documents as we find our footing and place in American history.
That's wonderful. We're so pleased that it's coming to the University at Albany to coincide with our other Black History Month programming and celebrations. And it's a wonderful collaboration. We thank you, Mark.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled as well.
So this has been Mark Shamming, director of the New York State Museum, and the lead in organizing this collaboration that will bring this exhibit, The First Step to Freedom, Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation, all the way up through the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's speech on the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation in New York City. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, Paul.